so I think this is really positive news, and I'm going to explain why. And I think it's not just generally positive news. I think it's specifically positive news for trans people everywhere, including in the UK, even though what I'm going to discuss is Sauran Mamdani was the candidate, or was a candidate in not even the mayoral race, but in the race to see which candidate the Democratic Party in the US would put forward for the mayoral race of New York. So this might seem quite specific. This isn't even a guy who's won a political position. This is a guy who's like won a chance to win a political position. And he's a cis person, he's a Democrat, so you're just like, why is this interesting at all? But I think from a left-wing perspective, you can probably get a much better analysis of this from probably an American person, probably someone who's keeping track of left-wing politics in the US. However, just a summary is, he is quite left-wing, much more left-wing than the average Democrat, and he was running against an old guard person, like someone who's been there for ages, who previously has been mayor, and who represented the Democrats not changing. And this guy represents the Democrats changing, and he won out of those two options. And the New York mayor position is quite influential. New York has a lot of people living there. I read that New York has more people in it than like loads of different states in the US, which is pretty crazy. But as this article here from The Guardian says, he offers New Yorkers a political revolution, and he won. So what I think is particularly important from my perspective about this is, this guy did everything that the Democrats and also UK Labour and people who write for the UK Guardian and the general consensus of the like centre left, he did everything that they've been saying you shouldn't do. He like proudly supported and supports trans rights, and he just says it out loud. He is like proudly anti the genocide going on in Gaza and speaks out in favour of the Palestinian people affected by that. And he just says it. He doesn't do any worming or dog whistles offering his positions. And he seems to be legit. So like here we have a photo of him. Says here, he was at the rally for trans youth in February when he was polling single digits. So this isn't like a media appearance that he did last week in order to boost his last thing because he thought trans rights is popular. Because trans rights aren't really that popular. It's not that anti-trans positions are popular either. No one really cares about trans people. This guy seems to legitimately believe in this. And he's showing up at stuff. And then when the media challenged him, when the media came for him, because they did, I was just laughing at this article. So this is the New York Post. It's like a far-right bullshit thing, fake news website. But loads of the right-wing newspapers are absolutely horrified about this. Sauran Mamdani wants to spend $65 million on trans medical treatment, including for minors, if elected NYC mayor. They are really going hard on, and of course they're going hard on this, because they've been going hard on anyone who even hints at that they might not hate trans people in the US and even more so in the UK for years now. And generally how the Democrats and the Labour in the UK have treated this is, we don't want any bad headlines. We're going to step away from this. We're going to stop saying we support trans people. At best, we're going to not mention trans people at all. And like, this is the position that Sarah McBride has taken famously. Sarah McBride is a trans politician in the US who's been elected into the Senate, I think. And she has said, you know, we need to just chill out on trans rights and just show people that we're normal and it'll work out, kind of her position. It is a bit more difficult for Sarah because she is trans herself. I'm not dunking on her. I'm just saying that it seems that was the best mainstream Democrat, centre-left, English-speaking world like political position that we could hope for. And this guy has just shown up and he's like, yeah, I support healthcare for trans people. And then these right-wing websites run some bullshit hit piece on him saying like, oh, you know, he's going to try and trans your child, spending millions of taxpayers' money. And he's just like, yep. And importantly, not only did he stand to his convictions, which is rare for a politician, no offense politicians who may or may not be watching this, it is rare, or at least it appears to be rare. He actually argued that position. That was like his main thing. Like I watched some of his speeches and stuff. His main thing was, we're going to make New York affordable. I'm not trying to say like this dude was like, trans rights is my main position and then he got voted into office or anything like that. Not at all. His main thing was saying, I'm going to do a rent freeze and I'm going to make public transport free, and just a load of like generally popular left-wing positions, like populist left-wing positions. Free public transport, free healthcare, and free childcare, like that kind of stuff, which is all really good. But also is pro-LGBT, and also is like pro-religious freedom and anti-genocide and anti-bigotry, and particularly another thing he represents is, or this victory represents is, his main opponent was credibly accused of sexual assault by like 13 different women, which is just horrific. And loads of the Democratic establishment backed him. They spent so much money on it. I think it's like the most any New York mayor candidate or in a primary has ever spent on like campaign ads and stuff. Bill Clinton backed up this guy who's called Cuomo. Loads of people endorsed him. It really felt like the establishment, the like center left or the center right, really center right Democrats establishment backed this like establishment figure. And this other dude, Mamdani, who isn't some billionaire celebrity, kind of came from nowhere, stuck to his guns, said, we want change, we're going to take on Trump, we're going to support LGBT people and people from Gaza and other minorities, and we're going to make things like general left-wing positions. And he won like a popular campaign against the odds. And that's why I think this is like specifically good for trans people, as well as just, this is just generally good news. It's good news when someone wants, like, even if it was just like the guy who wanted healthcare for children. It's so funny seeing like the attacks on this guy. Like Fox News is like, the things that Mamdani wants, and then it's like healthcare for children, like free school meals, free buses for old people. It's like, this is meant to be bad, is it? $30 minimum wage by 2030, like, and we're meant to be like horrified at that. But yeah, obviously it's like generally good news. But the fact that so much of the like global center left is reeling at the moment, because we keep losing in elections, not just in the US and the UK, but in countries all over the world, like Netherlands, Italy. Just the right has been on the rise for like a decade now, and everyone's arguing about how do we win these things. And then suddenly this like person comes along and goes against what they've been saying. Like, if you go and look at like all of the talking heads in newspapers and on TV and stuff, they're saying things like, we need to give up on trans rights, or we need to throw trans people under the bus because ordinary working class people are sick of all this trans stuff. And they're basically saying what we should do is we should become more conservative on social issues, particularly trans rights, abortion, and like Gaza. And that will win us votes. And that is like really hard what the Labour Party have been going on. They're doing all these attacks on disabled people. They're doing attacks on trans people. And it's like the only actual political positions. And they're hoping that they can win over the centre-right voters to vote for them. And that's their like strategy. And this guy just, hasn't just like offered an alternative, but like completely crushed that narrative. And seeing as the Labour Party in the UK is in power, like they had one of the biggest majorities in years, because the Conservative Party here just fell apart and was such a disaster. Labour like filled the power vacuum. They had basically a free mandate to do whatever they wanted, and somehow they've done nothing but attack disabled people and trans people. And they're floundering. They're failing in the polls. It looks like they're going to lose to the far-right party. If the election was held today, they would lose to the real extreme far-right party in this country. And they all must be looking at the polls. And there are some people in these centre-left parties who aren't just factional, caring about pushing forward their centre-right ideas. They'll be thinking, we're trying all this Keir Starmer stuff. We're trying all this Chuck Schumer stuff where we keep our heads low, we avoid bad headlines, we give up on trans people and disabled people and pregnant people and poor people, and we just hope that we can win that way. And now they see this guy come along and he's like, trans rights, gay rights, poor people's rights, like people, genocide is bad. Like he just fucking says it. They must be waking up to this and being like, maybe we should stop resisting these like young upcoming alternatives and show like an actual left-wing position. And I think it's given me some hope. I think this is just generally good news. You should think this is good news in general. It's good news for trans people. And I'm hoping it'll be reflected in the UK. I know that we've got Zach Palensky, who's running to be the leader of the Green Party, and he's like a similar figure. And also we've obviously got Jeremy Corbyn, who is kind of a similar figure, and he's still in office and probably will be re-elected and is threatening to make a new political party. There could be a left-wing coalition in the UK. And importantly, all these people are saying trans rights. They're not saying trans rights is the number one. In fact, I would be more than happy if trans rights was their 50th issue. Like, I do not give a fuck. All I want is someone who isn't explicitly anti-trans rights, because I'm so sick of that. And that's all we have constantly, like goblin-y Wes Streeting types who just hate trans people and grim. So if we can just get someone who's just happy to say, I support trans rights, trans people should have better rights, it's not my number one policy, it's my number 20 policy, that would just be incredible. So fingers crossed. We got to hope this guy wins mayor. He's probably going to win mayor. And we got to hope that all of the people who have power over the US Democrats and the UK Labour Party and other left-wing parties around the world are looking at this and saying, maybe we can support trans rights and win. And you know what? If you do support trans rights and win, suddenly, like, there's LGBT voters in every single country. And lots of them are looking at parties like the Democrats and Labour at the moment and being like, I don't want to vote for these people. They're like actively attacking my community. They might vote for you like holding their nose, but they might not. And you've had like historically low voter turnouts in favour of centre-left parties recently. And now you see this guy fucking smashing it. It is a benefit. It's not negative. It's not something you can just get away with. Like if you say you support trans rights and you support Gaza and stuff, people fucking turn up and vote for you. So I would be inspired to vote Labour. I'm not going to vote Labour as they are now, but I would be if they started saying, we're actually not evil. We're actually doing something good.